am Jennifer Sonko, and this is QTV News coming to you live from our studios along Caraba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main local, international, and business news headlines. A former jungler who drove some of the West African migrants to where they were executed has appeared before the TRRC for a second time. He claims there was loud music and dancing nearby as the migrants were being killed. As the country looks ahead to elections later the year, the first of what will be quarterly breakfast meetings of political party leaders has taken place. The aim to foster better relations between them. A 4-day training course to improve media reporting of sexual violence cases started on Monday. In business news, the insurance sector and the police team opt to help get across the importance of taking out motor vehicle insurance. In international news, Sunday 21st March was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. It was also War Poetry Day. We take a look at both of those. In the Republic of Congo, the main challenger to the long-standing president has died on election day. In sports news, in the GFF's first division, early league leaders Fortune FC see their lead at the top for the Withered away after a second successive draw. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. This is QTV News, and I am Jennifer Sonko. Now, the TRRC began its 22nd public hearings on Monday with a former convoy driver and train jungler Lamin Silla appearing for a second time to testify on the work of the junglers and the killing and dumping of the West African migrants in a well near Kanilai. Babukar C has the rest of that.
Warrant Officer Class 2 Lamin Silla was appearing for the second time, this time to testify about the work and structure of Jammeh's hit squad, known as the Junglers, and the operations he was involved in as a trained jungler. He told the commission that the hit squad were divided into two groups, with one operating from the ex-president's home in Kanilai and the other group operating from State House. In 2000, the witness recalled the killing of Almamo Mane when they were in Kanilai after Musa Jammeh briefed them about an operation they were to conduct at night. According to Silla, Musa Jammeh informed them that there was a planned coup involving Landin Sane and Almamo Mane, after which they quickly dressed, got armed with AK-47s and left for the combos. Lamin Silla said the operation was led by the former Minister of Interior, Usman Sonko. The witness said they drove to Sting Corner, where they met Usman Sonko, who again repeated the same thing to them, that Almamo and Landin wanted to overthrow the government of Yaya Jammeh. From there, they left to the Mile 7 residence where they tried to arrest Landin Sane.
That's where they started firing.
The witness said when they opened fire, they realized that the victim was inside his house with his family. He told the commission that he didn't fire his weapon, but confirmed that a grenade was thrown in Sane's house. When they arrested the suspect, the witness said they drove to Sting Corner again, and Usman Sonko asked them to wait for him as he was going to arrest Almamo Mane. After sitting and waiting for hours, the witness said Usman Sonko came back and told them that Almamo Mane is dead.
Who had overall operational command for that incident? And what's his name?
Former President Yaya Jammeh.
On the killing of the West African migrants, the witness said he was ordered to dress up and get set for a night patrol. He said he was in the same car with Sana Manjang, Solo Bojang and Malik Jatta, leaving Kanilai heavily armed with grenade launchers and pistols and headed to the combos. The witness said on their way, Solo Bojang received a call from ex-President Jammeh, and he could remember Solo replying with the only words, "Yes, sir." Lamin Silla said they drove to the residence of Baba Job in Kololi, where Solo Bojang came down with ropes and the migrants were tied and escorted out of Baba Job's compound.
Then he brought them and put them inside. And he tied them. Then I left the other people, and I stopped at some point. Then Sana Manjang and others were standing guarding my vehicle.
The witness said the West African migrants were put in double cabin pickup trucks with each pickup carrying 10 persons and driven to Kanilai with 20 captives. The witness said they went behind the mini stadium in Kanilai inside the bush and brought down the captives. Lamin Silla said he saw Martin Carey jumped from his vehicle and run away while Solo Bojang shot at him, but he escaped. The witness told the Truth Commission that as they were shooting the migrants and throwing in the well, one of the captives was thrown inside the well but was not dead and was shouting.
That's the time they took a grenade and fired on him.
Who did that?
Malik.
Malik who?
Jata. Malik Jata.
Lamin Silla told the commission that they went for another trip and collected the same number of captives, and no one escaped this time round as they shot and killed all of them. The witness told the Truth Commission that as the killings was going on, Yaya Jammeh was in his Kanilai residence as there was a drum festival going on in his house. Babakar Si, QTV News.
Towards the end of 2021, the Gambia will enter into an important election period to include the December presidential election. Elections can be a catalyst for never-ending conflict, and to prevent this, there is a need for prior consultations. The Inter-Party Committee over the weekend held its inaugural breakfast meeting of what will be quarterly meetings to promote peaceful coexistence between political parties. I attended the event. The meeting, attended by representatives of the 17 registered political parties, Inter-Party Committee members, United Nations representatives, and other national and international stakeholders, the Inter-Party Committee was established by registered political parties as a forum for a dialogue among parties to promote peaceful coexistence amongst members. Trust and cooperation between political leaders can promote peace, stability, and sustainable growth. Events as the quarterly breakfast meetings of the IPC can bridge communications gaps. The co-chair of the IPC, Musa Amulnyasi, further outlined the need for such political spaces.
Looking at the way politics is happening in the country, we believe it's only us Gambians who can change the narratives. How can we change the narratives? Is by committing ourselves to what we preach. And there is no way we can do it unless and until we have the leaders of the respective parties that are now registered with the IEC to come together in such a forum, look at each other, have bilaterals. You can observe during the break, the tea and coffee break, you can see people you hardly see say at table had the opportunity to reach out to each other, discuss, smile. That alone is sending a positive signal.
A memorandum of understanding and code of conduct to guide the activities and actions of the members of the IPC has been signed by all registered political parties. Party leaders took turns to recommit to the MOU. We were able to have a chat with the party leader of the GMC, Ahmad Maifati.
Well, we are, as a political party, GMC, we are fully committed to the MOU. We believe the MOU in fact represents our political platform, what we stand for. The MOU is about integrity, it's about leadership, it's about cooperation, it's about problem solving, it's about consultation, it's about coordination, it's about facilitating and enhancing effective working relationships among political parties, harmonizing common policies, working on collective strategies, and presenting unanimous policies on issues that affect, the political class as well as the politics of the country.
A recurring theme at the event is the need to have more women venture into politics, and some went to the extent of demanding that each political party in the IPC must have a female representative or risk being denied a seat at the IPC. Even the funders of the program are of the same belief, which has the potential to push the IPC to do more to ensure more participation by women.
And as you know, this year thematic for this month, Women's Month, I would say, is really to reinforce and take the opportunity to strengthen women's political participation and leadership. So we count on the IPC to really seize this opportunity. We also are aware that political parties' nomination process in the Gambia have not always favored women candidates for presidential, parliamentary, and local seats. Until this gender inequality gap at the political parties level is addressed, the Gambia will have difficulties to reach the critical minority electoral quota of 30% that has been set by the African Union.
A concern raised by the NRP was the need to decentralize the meetings of the Inter-Party Committee. We engaged co-chair Musa Amonyasi on the possibility of that request being met.
I think we'll be able to move by the next quarterly meeting, which is going to be precisely in June. We will be able to move to another region, because I have looked at the response, the reaction from these donors. It's like they are fully in support of the idea and they will be ready to fund it. So in as much as we'll get funded, nothing stops us, because it has an advantage. Not everybody is privy to what is happening within the Greater Banjul area.
According to the monthly situational report published by the peace ambassadors in February, political rhetoric, accusations and counter-accusations among political leaders and supporters has the potential to cause chaos. We will monitor these meetings, see if they help lessen tensions ahead of the December 2021 elections. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko. From that story, we will take a short commercial break. Still to come, we have more local news stories. Do stay tuned.
Join the Gambia's fastest growing network and enjoy high-speed 4G LTE. Dial *335# to subscribe to QCell's 4G LTE service. There's no need to swap your SIM. QCell, Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. Now, in a bid to address gaps in media reporting of sexual violence in the Gambia, Think Young Women on Monday began a 4-day capacity building training for journalists to better cover such cases and in doing so, raise public awareness on eliminating the practice. Omar P. Jallo attended the opening ceremony and he files this report.
The training, which is funded by the British High Commission in Banjul, brought together journalists from electronic and print media to focus on respecting the rights and privacy of victims during reporting. In her opening remarks, the national coordinator of Think Young Women, Musuba Kotosao, said the training is under the project titled Promoting Justice for Victims and Survivors of Sexual Violence in the Gambia, adding that it will focus on best practices and standards of reporting on sexual violence. She believes that the training can help to reduce what she calls the high numbers of biased reporting on sexual violence, where victims are usually blamed.
It's important to engage with media because we've seen instances where media has reported cases of sexual violence where they either underreported by referring to rape cases as having sex with someone or allegedly having sex with someone as opposed to just calling it rape. We have seen also instances where media has vilified survivors and victims alike and also glorified the perpetrator as opposed to just focusing on the victim story. We've seen how, because of such reporting, survivors and victims alike have been traumatized or re-traumatized, as well as their privacy invaded, amongst others.
Delivering the keynote address, the British High Commissioner to the Gambia, Davis Belgrove, said journalists have a role to play in giving well-informed and balanced reporting on cases of sexual violence to the public, citing the sensitive nature of the subject. Belgrove cautioned journalists to change the narrative by holding perpetrators to account. He expressed hope that after the training, journalists will play a pivotal role in eradicating sexual violence.
From health providers to law enforcement to employers and friends and family, we all need to play our part. By allowing women to disclose violence as part of their everyday interactions, we can support early identification and intervention to stop violence and abuse from escalating to critical levels. By improving confidence in the criminal justice system,
the Vice President of the Gambia Press Union, Mohamed Esba, reminded journalists of the power of words, saying journalists must be careful with how they use words in informing the public, stating that words can stigmatize people, especially victims of sexual violence. He added that journalists must try to get the facts of any sexual violence cases before reporting it. Ba called on journalists to lead a campaign against sexual violence and eliminate all forms of discrimination and negative stereotypes against women and girls.
Society cannot develop without the presence of the media. And media is the platform where people's voices are amplified. Media is the hope for the voiceless. So this training, or the importance, cannot be overemphasized.
Mariama Sise of Block TV, and also a participant, said the training is timely, noting that incidents of sexual violence occurs frequently at home, in schools, and even at workplaces.
Sexual and gender-based violence is something that is disturbing us. So I think we are in the right time to end it. Enough, we should stop this, and then we should stop sexual violence in our workplaces and in our homes.
Cases of sexual violence have increased at an alarming rate since the start of the coronavirus globally and in this country. Therefore, measures should be taken to reduce the practice, and the media have an important role to play by creating public awareness. They can do this by how they report these matters. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
The executive of Kombo East District Youth Committee, a youth-led community-based organization in the West Coast region, held a day-long youth empowerment forum on Saturday at Giboro Kuta in the Kombo East District to discuss issues affecting young people and devise ways forward. Omar P. Jallo has the rest of that.
Following the first edition of Kombo East Youth Empowerment Forum in Pirang in 2017, the organization continues to work towards addressing problems affecting youth, ranging from empowerment, child protection, leadership and advocacy in community development, youth in migration, young people in peace building, young people in drug abuse, as well as sport development. Addressing the gathering, Abdullah Njai, the district youth chairperson, outlined the numerous achievements of the district youth committee, adding that under his leadership, the committee will continue to be strong and vibrant in its operation and advocacy for youth empowerment. He revealed plans to partner with Kuras Gardening to train youths in horticulture and other skills to be job creators and not just job seekers.
Since we came into power, the district youth committee will be taking a new dimension, and we have already started that. We want to see that our young people are empowered. Our young people, we want to see them in a different direction, in a positive direction for that matter. And today, we have a skills center that is Kuras Garden, operating in Kombo East. They're offering free scholarship training for young people on horticulture and agro-food business.
Lamin FM Konta, the National Assembly member for Kombo East, encouraged members to always show passion to the people they represent and commended the groups for the numerous developments registered since its inception in 2005. Konta underscored the importance of investing in youths and further challenged stakeholders and institutions to invest more in youth development to enable them to become responsible leaders.
Youth migration. It may be argued that migration as a global phenomenon has been going on from time immemorial. However, the recent use and understanding of the term migrations has been greatly attributed to the upsurge of the movement of the people from one area to the other, particularly from Africa and the war-torn countries in the Middle East.
Deliberating on youth involvement in drugs, the chairperson of the Kombo East District Youth and Children Development Association, Kida Dembo Kuyate, reminded the participants that young people are the hopes and future of the country. He said a nation without young people is at risk and called on participants to quit taking drugs and instead take leadership roles in their communities for the development of themselves, their communities and the country at large. He also challenged them to take the forum seriously and share the knowledge gained with their colleagues who were not fortunate to be present.
If, for example, I should engage the Drug Law Enforcement Agency to come and have a food patrol in the community, perhaps they may find young people smoking cannabis, and that is a drug. There are a lot of drugs abuse going on within the communities of Kombo East, and Giboro is not an exception to that. But thank God, all the people that are present here today are going to serve as ambassadors, are going to serve as advocates in making sure that their friends don't feel victim of the abuse that is going on.
Osman Ba, the councillor for Giboro Ward, and the Alcala of Giboro Kuta, Sirifo Jata, both commended the young people of Kombo East for their commitment and dedication to the advancement of the youths of the district and the country as a whole. The forum brought together participants from all over the district to brainstorm on issues affecting young people, including youth leadership and employability for sustainable socio-economic development. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Reports of lost children are becoming a cause for concern, particularly if they are very young. Sadi Sonko, a 7-year-old boy, has been missing since Saturday, and all efforts to find him have so far proved fruitless. More in this report by Ajibintu Drame.
The boy was last seen on Saturday at around 7 p.m. in the evening, when he and other children followed a masquerade locally called Kankurang. Since then, it has turned into a nightmare for his parents. A last child of 5 to his parents, Sadi is in grade 1 at the Junkum Jame Lower Basic School in Abuko. His father, Ibrahim Sonko, says all efforts to find the child to no avail.
So dem nañ ci police yépp dem nañ Banjul police station, Kunkujang, Welingara, Abuko, Fajikunda, Piccadilly. Yépp dem nañ report fofu.
We have gone to all the police stations. We have gone to Banjulundi, Kunkujang, Welingara, Abuko and Fajikunda. But since then, I went to the stations yesterday, but we don't have any news.
Ibrahim further pleads for whoever finds his child to let him return or report the matter to the police.
Man kay maa ngi ñaan ku ko yore daal mu seet police station ko gën a jege mu yóbbu ko foofu.
I am just pleading, whosoever has him, let him take him to the nearest police station, because we have left our numbers at the stations. I have gone to the mosque too, because if you have someone's child, take the child to the nearest station. That's what the law says. So I am pleading.
Sadi and other kids around the neighborhood normally go to the mosque to play, a stone's throw from his house. However, that was the last place he was seen. Our Sonko, Sadi's mother, also pleads for the return of her son. I have gone to the Marabu to take out charity. I have done everything. Any Marabu I went to, they tell me he is with someone. So if a person has my child, let him return my child to the police station. QTV and Q Radio have reported missing children, and Sadi is one of the youngest. We pray for his safe return and plead with parents and guardians to be on the lookout and be vigilant in looking after their children to avoid such issues. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
From that story by Ajibintu Drame, we will take a short commercial break. Still to come, we have business and international news. Do stay tuned.
Buy your QCell credit using your QMoney account without any hassle. Cash in any amount starting from $10 and enjoy the amazing services QMoney has to offer. With QMoney, life is easy. Visit your nearest QMoney agent to cash in or call customer care on 133. Don't forget to wash your hands with soap after handling cash. QMoney, Sunyu Kalpe. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. I am Jennifer Sonko, and thank you for staying with us. On to some business news. The Insurance Association of the Gambia, in partnership with the Gambia Police Force, Monday commenced a week-long joint training on road traffic insurance for 20 police officers. More in this report.
Under the theme, Insurance and Road Traffic Management, this week-long course aims to build the capacity of participants selected from the traffic, investigative and prosecution units of the police force on the importance of insurance cover for motorists. Addressing participants at the opening ceremony, the president of the Insurance Association of the Gambia, Makaire Bajan, says the training presents an opportunity for both insurance companies and the police to acquire the required knowledge in administering motor vehicle insurance claims.
The more we work together to get the understanding and have the administering of all of these things to the best interest of not just us, but then the general public that we're actually really serving and providing service to is really of immense importance under the circumstances.
He also paid tribute to the late Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Mahmoud Job, for his role in forming the joint task force that developed the concept for this training. Dr. Sekou Jabi, first Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, commended the Insurance Association and the police for organizing such training. He says the central bank looks forward to the recommendations that will be made at the end of the exercise.
I renew the challenge to the insurance industry that I made in this hall to have vehicles in the pool that could be given to motorists to get their movements less troublesome in the event of accidents.
Representing the Office of the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Abba, Assistant Inspector General of Police, says the police welcome initiatives geared towards building the capacity of officers and went on to highlight the important role insurance plays in sustaining economic growth, describing it as a social device that helps reduce or eliminate risk of loss of life.
I would like to urge all participants, especially our police participants or trainees, to take this course seriously and participate meaningfully during the deliberations. I will also urge all of you to share the knowledge and skills gained in this training with your colleagues who were not privileged to be part of this training this morning.
Despite the proliferation of insurance companies in the Gambia, getting people to take insurance cover remains a challenge that continues to have a huge economic impact, especially on motorists, many of whom receive little or no support to compensate for the loss of property and sometimes lives. However, officials hope training of this nature will help create a better understanding of the importance of taking insurance cover. Ansumane Esonyasi for QTV News.
From that story by Ansumane Esonyasi, here are the foreign currency exchange rates for the Gambian dalasi against a range of major currencies for Monday, 22nd March.
Here are the foreign currency exchange rates for the Gambian dalasi against the US dollar. The dalasi is buying at $49.75 bututs and selling at $52. Against the euro, the dalasi is buying at $59 and selling at $62.50. Against the pound sterling, the dalasi is buying at $65.50 and selling at $71.50. Against the CFA, the dalasi is buying at $415 and selling at $440. The daily currency rate on QTV News is brought to you by Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
That was Momodu Mboch on the foreign exchanges. Now on to some international news. International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination is a UN Day observed annually on 21st March. The day aims to raise awareness about equality and marks as an initiative to end all forms of racism and racial discrimination. More in this report by Lole M. Kamara.
The annual observance aims to unite the world against racism and discrimination for a peaceful and a happier society, with the theme Youth Standing Up Against Racism. Therefore, calls on all sections of society to stand up against intolerant attitudes. The International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination was established in 1966, 6 years after the Sackville tragedy or massacre, which captured worldwide attention. The unfortunate event involved police opening fire and killing 69 people at a peaceful demonstration against the apartheid passed laws in Sackville, South Africa on March 21, 1960. In 2001, the World Conference Against Racism and Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia and Related Intolerance was held, with the UN continuing its work to fight against all forms of racial intolerance. This year, the event focuses on helping young people voice their opinions, find ways to fight racism, and promote tolerance in their communities and in their lives, as they are given the option of posting their opinions regarding discussions on human rights and racial discrimination. Whilst it is important to recognize the amazing work that has been done to start putting an end to racism, it remains true that many people throughout the world are still racially abused. According to records, in 2020, there were a number of racist attacks on ethnic minority groups, from the horrible murder of George Floyd by white police officers in America to the consistent unwarranted criticism and abuse of Chinese people over the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. It has become even more obvious that days like International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination are absolutely necessary as the fight against racial discrimination goes on. In commemoration of the day, American President put out a statement which included this passage: "We will not shy away from engaging in the hard work to take on the demanding legacy of slavery and our treatment of Native Americans. or from doing the daily work of addressing systematic racism and violence against Black, Native, Latino, Asian American, and Pacific Islander, and other communities of color. Neither will we fail to speak out against the horrific mistreatment of the Rohingya in Burma, the Uyghurs in China, or any racial discrimination we see in the world. End of statement. The idea of this commemoration is that everyone in a society has the same rights and status. Although most countries strive for equality, not many manage to achieve it. A quote from Martin Luther King states, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." For now, that dream seems far from being achieved, and this commemoration shows we have to keep striving. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
The Republic of Congo on Sunday headed into a presidential election boycotted by the main opposition and attacked by critics as being tilted towards veteran leader Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has already ruled the country for 37 years. His grip on power seems set to continue as doubts about the election's legality prevail. More in this report by Yaya Jawo.
Citizens of the Republic of Congo on Sunday went to the polls with the main motive of uprooting the powers of a dictatorial government that was planted 37 years ago and elect a new democratic president. But the 77-year-old incumbent president, Denis Sassou Nguesso, is widely expected to win against 6 contenders, led by economist and 2016 presidential runner-up Guy Brice Parfait Kolela, as doubts of conducting a free and fair elections remains a topic of discussion among opposition leaders. Unfortunately, Kolela, seen as the main challenger to Sassou Nguesso, died of COVID-19 a day after the presidential elections in which he was the main challenger. According to his campaign director, he died in the medical aircraft while he was being transferred to France for treatment. The 61-year-old tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday afternoon and could not host his last campaign meeting in Brazzaville. On Saturday, the challenger had posted a video on social media after being taken ill, declaring he was battling against death. He urged his supporters to fight for change, adding that the election is about the future of their children. Sassou Nguesso, a former paratrooper, first rose to power in 1979 and has since accumulated 36 years in office, making him one of the world's longest-serving leaders, and he is still hoping for a first-round victory to secure another term in office. Sadio Kante Morel, a freelance journalist, said Nguesso has been in office for 37 years now, and he will hold on to power by force if necessary. She claims he was persecuted by Nguesso's secret police and arrested several times after protesting against the extension of his term in office. According to Kante Morel, President Nguesso does not tolerate opposition. He had a referendum whipped through in 2015 that gave him 3 more terms of 5 years each, which means that he has 10 more years to go should he choose to do so. She went on to say that the regime wants to maintain a facade of democracy, but dictatorship still prevails in the country. Presidential election had been boycotted by the main opposition and took place under an internet blackout. Christian Rodrigue Mayanda called on Kolela's supporters to rally on Monday as they will continue to count the ballots, saying Kolela was ahead in a number of areas. His death causes a dilemma in the unlikely event he wins. Although provisional election results are not expected for days, Sassou Nguesso is widely predicted to be the winner. And if that happens, Congolese will continue to live under the leadership of a dictator. Reporting for QTV News, I am Yahya Jao.
In 1990, UNESCO adopted 21st March as World Poetry Day, which has since been annually celebrated to recognize the unique ability of poetry to capture the creative spirit of the human mind.
According to the UNESCO website, World Poetry Day is an occasion to honor poets, revive oral traditions of poetry recitals, promote the reading, writing, and teaching of poetry, foster the convergence between poetry and other arts, such as theater, dance, music, and painting, and raise the visibility of poetry in the media. The date coincides with the beginning of spring, at least in the northern hemisphere, when a sense of hope and renewal permeates the air. The power of poetry to uplift hearts across borders and reaffirms our common humanity, keeping aloft the vision of a better future, has nowhere been more powerfully felt recently than in U.S. poet Amanda Gorman's lyrical anthem to a hopeful future titled The Hill We Climb at the Biden-Harris inauguration in January.
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished.
Her words, according to one critic, reminded us that there is a different narrative to feeling entrapped in the doom and gloom of a former Trump administration and the grip of a global pandemic. Through the lyricism of sound and rhythm, rhymes and assonances, meter and meaning, poetry has the power to shake us from everyday life and enchant the human spirit, even where its subject matter is disenchanting. Poetry stems from oral traditions and has been one of the oldest cultural forms of humankind. It opens before our eyes the imagination's roads, giving us visions of alternative, better ways of living. And there lies its revolutionary potential, according to some critics. Alice Walker, the American poet, calls poetry the lifeblood of rebellion, revolution, and the raising of consciousness. Poetry was one of the weapons of the liberation movements in Africa, and some of the greatest actors of that period were poets, from Leopold Sedar Senghor and Amilcar Cabral in West Africa to Antonio Agostinho Neto in Angola, the country's first president. The first Gambian to publish a book of poetry is Phyllis Whitley, who was sold into slavery in 1761 at the age of 7 or 8 and transported to North America. Many authorities believe that she was born in this country. On September 1st, 1773, Phyllis Whitley's volume of poems titled Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral was published in England. Whitley's collection was the first volume of poetry by an African-American poet to be published. She was approximately 20 years old. She died in 1784 as Phyllis Peters, having married someone called John Peters. In an astonishing historical echo, a couple of centuries later, another Peters, Dr. Landry Peters, would pick up from where she left off with his publication of poems in 1964, Satellites in 1967, and Kachikali in 1971. The current doyen of the field is arguably Dr. Tijan Sala, the economist, poet, and biographer of Chinua Achebe. And in a recent article on the contemporary Gambian poetic scene, Dr. Sala identifies poets Mariama Khan, Mamadou Sala, and Bala S.K. Saho as the promising new Gambian voices of this generation. Landry Peters died in 2009, and in one of his poems, It's Time for Reckoning Africa, Time for Taking Stock, he expressed an urgency that is still relevant today. Tune the singing of despair, tune the melody to purpose. For too long, we have dragged our feet through rank disorder, incompetence, and self-defeat. Snowflakes in the night won't bring the dead to life. This is a reckoning that stresses the need of a search for a way forward and a consideration of the human alternatives that this search will uncover. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbowe.
Poetry gives me hope. Now let's take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. GFF League leaders Fortune dropped another 2 points after their 1-1 draw with BK Milan on Saturday at the Livio Dreamfield in Bassori. It was their second successive draw in the league, allowing second place Real de Banjo to close the gap to 4 points. Momodu Gajaga has the rest of that.
2 first-half goals settled matters in a tie where the league leaders Fortune seemed poised to maintain the gap at the top. However, after taking the lead in the 36th minute through a Sanjay's shot, 3 minutes later, Wally Fofana equalized to restore parity. It was a match that saw some rough play from both sides, including high tackles, resulting in too many stoppages due to persistent fouls. Despite those incidents, referee Maudo Jallo only issued yellow cards to some players for what appeared to be tackles worth of a sending off. Other offenders weren't booked at all. BK Milan conceded a corner, but before the kick was taken, players squared up to each other, nearly sparking a brawl. Yet again, not a single player was booked. After the match, Fortune coach Jane Juve says the referee lost control of the game.
Definitely it was a very physical game whereby most of the decisions were not something that people were expecting to see in the league. So I think it will be a lesson to learn from, as these type of games definitely we don't used to as well. So that's why we reacted in a positive way so as not to get being punished as he was doing on some of our players. But it's something that we have to look at again. But at the end of the day, he's the one responsible for every action on the pitch. He's the one who should discipline the game as well, and that's exactly what he should have done to avoid this sort of type of play.
On his team's chances of winning their first ever GFF First Division League title, Jane was rather calm about it despite currently occupying top spot.
There is a long way to go, so we all know about the Gambian League. The most important is to be consistent in collecting points. So at the end of the day, if you keep on winning your games, you can be a title contender. If you keep on losing your games, you might fight in the relegation battle. So at the moment, we are not at the bottom of the table, we are on top. So the only thing we are looking for is to win maximum games and then see how best we can compete for the title.
2 weeks ago, Fortune led the table by 7 points. That lead has now been trimmed to 4 points following this, their second draw, after Real de Banjul's victory against Elite United on Friday closed the gap. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
That is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News, but before we leave you, let's take a quick look at our main stories. A former jungler who drove some of the West African migrants to where they were executed appeared before the TRRC for a second time. He claimed there was loud music and dancing nearby as the migrants were being killed. As the country looks ahead to elections later in the year, the first of what will be quarterly breakfast meetings of political party leaders has taken place. The aim is to foster better relations between them. A 4-day training course to improve media reporting of sexual violence cases started on Monday. In business news, the insurance sector and the police have teamed up to help get across the importance of taking out motor vehicle insurance. In international news, Sunday 21st March was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. It was also World Poetry Day. We took a look at both of those. In the Republic of Congo, the main challenger to the long-standing president has died on Elections Day. In sports news, in the GFF's First Division Early League, leaders Fortune FC see their lead at the top for the whittled away after a second successive draw. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us at 10 for another bulletin. Thanks for watching and have a great week ahead.